women founders only get about 2.3% of the VC dollars out there. It's unacceptably low.
Mhm.
And when we talk to VCs, and this is a 2020 stat, not from ages ago, but 2.3% in 2020. We talked to VCs and they said, well, there's not enough women, in the funnel. I don't see enough women founders making it there. So, that was part of the reason of thinking of SheBoot. It was like, we need to fix the in-between and get women from these early stage companies through to the VCs, and that means angel investment dollars.
Hello and welcome to Say Hi to the Future, a podcast aimed at highlighting the human side of human ingenuity, clever, inventive, and original thinking. My name is Ken Tenser, curator of Say Hi to the Future and CEO of SpyderWorks, a leading business consultancy for mid-market organizations and entrepreneurs globally. With me today is Julia Elvidge, co-founder of SheBoot, a 6-week boot camp designed to prepare women entrepreneurs to pitch their business and secure investment. She's an electrical engineer by training and has worked in high tech for over 30 years. She spent 13 years as president of a high-tech company exporting 95% of their products and services to electronics companies worldwide. Now semi-retired, Julia is an advisor to entrepreneurs at Invest Ottawa and is a supporter of women in tech and female founders. Like this video if you enjoy our show and subscribe to our channel. Leave us a comment with who we should interview next. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. Julia, welcome to Say Hi to the Future.
Glad to be here, Ken. Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Oh, me too. And I've got to say, if you'll indulge me for a minute, I know that this is not a discussion about Tourism Ottawa, but I grew up in Montreal. I now live in Toronto. I had the opportunity to do my undergrad at what's now Sprott at Carleton, and then spent many years on the board. And I have to say that for me, Ottawa it's my happy place. It's a wonderful city. And now having had the opportunity to be on the Sprott board leading up to the building of the new building and seeing what's happening in Canada North, both by Carleton and U of O and the tech industry in general, it's incredible what 30 years has brought to the city of Ottawa.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Montreal too, but I ended up here in Ottawa during what I call the boom time, because there really was a boom time in the late 80s, early 90s. And it was really exciting. I was very happy to make the move here and make this the place for my family to grow up. And it's been fun watching Ottawa grow up as well too. Did you hear about the Jeopardy?
I didn't.
No, it's only Ottawanians would hear this, but supposedly there was a Jeopardy question about Ottawa. What capital in the world has a frozen canal and Winterlude each year, and they picked Paris and Amsterdam. So we're flying them up here to Ottawa so that they can see the real Winterlude. Is the plan.
What can you do? And especially, that's unfortunately with the passing of a Canadian host, that question would have gotten through. But so having spent 30 years in tech, just tell us again a little bit about what the city has done to support technology and to support what we're now seeing.
We took it for granted in the 90s. We were just loving the boom, and certainly, we've been through some bumps in tech, and not just Ottawa, but 2001 was quite a hit, but we survived, and we saw the growth again. 2008, another hit, but it was really, I think that one thing that hurt us the most was the loss of Nortel and that infrastructure around that, which also created the movement of individuals to create something new, which is wonderful from a growing the next generation of entrepreneurs and founders. So, I find I sit in with the Capital Angel Network group, and I see the faces that I was working with 30 years ago. I see them wanting to give back, wanting to grow the next generation of entrepreneurs and support them in their growth. And I love it. I just love seeing the energy around that and the desire to see that next boom. And you can feel it in Ottawa now. It's there's a real energy around the next group of startups.
Great. And I mean, we talked today about quality of life and where we live and how we work. And it also just supports, as you said, with canals, with the river, with the activities and the general tech connectivity. It really is an incredible place to be and live. That's still quite affordable and quite manageable for a young entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And it's the kind of town that in the tech world, we all know each other too, right? So there's a great support network, I find, and that's something that I've really enjoyed being part of here in Ottawa as well too.
So let's look at your journey a little bit. I mean, is it like many entrepreneurial journeys, many life journeys? I mean, we're not exactly certain where we're going. If I understand, I mean, you started as an engineer, but through ShipWorks, you helped to grow a global technology company. Is that something that you foresaw, or was that?
No. I did not foresee it at all. I mean, when I started electrical engineering, it was for the full purpose of being a biomedical engineer. That was my goal. And I fell in love with semiconductors and the boom, the energy of the boom as well too, around semiconductors at that time. So I got in relatively early. I mean, I'm not, Fairchild early, but I mean, it was getting much more commonplace. But even at where I worked, first of all, at LSI Logic, I was training gentlemen. They were all gentlemen at that point. I was a woman, young, training gray-haired gentlemen how to make a chip. These are people that have been doing electronics for years, but you had to learn different things when you started making chips. And so that was a real learning experience, and had to get over a lot of fears to get up and teach people older than myself how to do something new. But that led me into later on. I was at home and taking care of my kids for a period of time. I just really enjoyed that I got that time to do it. But an old boss from co-op period calls me up and says, I need you. And I'm going, I'm a diaper in one hand, and I'm going, I'm not quite there yet. And he waited a bit and finally said, okay, I'm going to start posting and hiring people if you don't join me. And I said yes, and I was really happy I said yes, because it was quite a journey that we got on. It was, we grew a company that I was very proud of. We had an amazing culture of open, transparent communication, keeping employees up to date. I just loved what we created. And we got to work with semiconductor companies around the world. We were engaging with intellectual property groups in Asia, the US, and Europe, and having conversations and understanding, what they knew about patents and what we knew about patents, and helping them create better going forward. So it was an amazing experience. And we sold the company in 2016 to our largest competitor, Tech Insights, which was also an Ottawa company. So we kept it together, and it made it easy for the employees to transition. And I got to start a new stage of my career, and that's really giving back a lot more and getting involved with entrepreneurs and really trying to create, the next generation of entrepreneurs in Ottawa.
And what are you finding that next generation really needs? Is it financial? Is it mentoring?
I have women in particular. One woman it would say, word for word, enough mentoring, more money. That this really has been holding back, particularly women. Women founders only get about 2.3% of the VC dollars out there. It's unacceptably low.
Mhm.
And when we talk to VCs, and this is a 2020 stat, not from ages ago, but 2.3% in 2020. We talked to VCs and they said, well, there's not enough women, in the funnel. I don't see enough women founders making it there. So, that was part of the reason of thinking of SheBoot. It was like, we need to fix the in-between and get women from these early stage companies through to the VCs. And that means angel investment dollars. And it was Jennifer Francis, who is the chair of the Capital Angel Network Group. I'm also a member of that board. And Sonia Shorey from Invest Ottawa, and she's the VP of Strategy and Marketing Communications. We just, kept talking and went, maybe we can make something happen here, and maybe we can make a difference and help more women get up the funnel and ready for those VCs that are just, aren't seeing enough women founders.
Mhm.
And we did that. We started talking about it in 2019 and managed to get 18 women together in a home in February 2020 and said, would you be interested in getting involved in this? We need investment dollars, we need volunteer help. And all 18 said yes. I didn't even imagine that all 18 would say yes, but that was the beginning of really getting to a stage where this was becoming real. And then COVID hit.
Right.
So it threw us off a little bit, but we kept going, and to a certain extent, it works from a virtual standpoint, because we can bring women together from different regions now. It's not just Ottawa founders, but we love to see the mix of bringing women founders from different regions and learning from each other.
And where does that, the work of SheBoot really begin, or the path really begin? And what I'm thinking of is, there's a female engineer, a woman engineer up in Toronto, who created a maker space for tweens and teens. And the issue was much the same there. It was, I don't remember the exact percentage, but I'd say it was 2/3 young men, if you will. So where does this begin? Does it begin with STEM education at a younger age and empowering, young girls, I guess, if you're going to 8, 10, 11 years old?
Absolutely. And, I'm part of another great organization called Technovation. And Technovation is about STEM for girls starting as young as 10. And really, it's similar kind of concept where a bunch of women mentor these teams of girls to create an application and a business plan around that application. And it is meant to inspire them to do the important part, which is continue their education in those final years of sticking in the sciences. And particular physics is the one that many girls drop out of. And that becomes critical when they have to make decisions at the university level. But I spoke to a group of girls at a summer camp, and I was, I said, why do you think there isn't more women in tech jobs? And they said things that I didn't even expect them to say. They said things like, well, because bosses won't hire them because they think they're going to get pregnant. I was like, oh my God, really? And I think we're way past that. Okay, but they're getting it from somewhere. I don't know where they're getting it from. They were grade 9, grade 10, and grade 11 girls, and I couldn't believe what was coming out of their mouths, and it's got to change. And the way for it to change, I think, in my premise at this point, because I really want to get women beyond this number, and the number for Canada of women in tech jobs is been hovering at 25% for decades. It just does not get beyond that, and that's because I believe that tech is not a friendly place when you are a young mother. It's difficult to balance everything, and that's too bad, because these companies are losing very valuable talent at a critical time. And so it's another thought process of SheBoot was, well, that's it. I'm fed up with trying to push tech companies to change and get more women into the traditional tech companies. Let's just start again. Let's create female founded tech companies that are going to create a new paradigm and be a place where they understand women in tech and their needs, and can balance that and keep those women in the roles, and make sure that there is diversity throughout in terms of decision making, and essentially a new paradigm.
Right. So it's almost, and I mean this in a very good way, it's almost like an alternate ecosystem, because there are certainly some incredible women who are involved with the financing side, who have developed and come up through technology like yourself. And of course, I'm going to draw a complete blank right now, but one who's founded a new form of financing based on marketing.
Clearbank.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely fabulous example.
Michelle.
Yeah,
Is it?
Michelle. Yeah, Michelle. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I went blank there, but yes, it is Clearbank. So, I mean, there is that opportunity to, as you said, create a completely new ecosystem.
Yes, and I think there'll be an example of how to make it work going forward, and that's what I hope, because this is bigger than just having more women in tech, because the Brookfield Institute has a great paper they finished, and it dates back to 2016, but even back then, there is a disparity between men and women's salaries in tech, but it's much smaller than it is anywhere else. So if we want to raise the economy of women in general, and make them more independent financially, that's a good reason to help them get into these better paying roles, and help remove that disparity between genders in from a financial standpoint as well.
Right. And so who's involved in this ecosystem? Because it certainly, whether it's education, financing, mentoring, pure technology understanding, I mean, there are a lot of moving parts, I imagine. And as you said, you went out to 18.
I had started with 18, but and our first goal was to get 10 women to put $10,000 towards the pitch prize at the end, and we matched that with some FedDev funds that we received through Invest Ottawa, and very happily received. And that I wasn't sure I'd get 10 women, because I didn't actually know 10 women that were currently investing. When I joined Capital Engine Network in it was late 2018, I was the third woman in that group of about 55 people. There'd been other women, but they kind of rotated through, and it never really turned into a large enough group that women stuck around. So since then, we got that number up to 20% of the membership, and I think that plays an important part of supporting women founders is getting more women angel investing themselves. And it's a little bit about not being alone in the room when you're pitching, especially on a Zoom call to a group. It's nice to see a few female faces across the table from you, and that I think has been a great help. What we did from year 1 to year 2 of the SheBoot cohort is we doubled that number. We got 20 women, and I was wondering where they're all coming from, but there was a certain women are just loving this idea. They see like something's being done, we're making change, and they're jumping in, and they're doing the networking for me. So they call their friends up and say, hey, have you heard of SheBoot? And we got to that 20 women this year, and we were able to divert the FedDev funds directly into the hands of every member of the cohort, and each of them got $10,000 to support their legal fees and financial to get themselves ready to be investment ready again. So that was great, and we still had $200,000 of pitch money to give away at the end. But the women investors were great, but we also have another 50 other women that are members of, are coaches to the companies.
Awesome.
They are Ghost Board members. They've done all the workshops, and every one of those has done it on a volunteer basis. Any funding we've had has gone directly through to the funders, and with a little bit of support funds from Capital Angel Network and Invest Ottawa. So I'm just amazed at the power of getting the volunteers together to achieve these kind of results. Is amazing.
Oh, it sounds it, and I think it's an incredible thing. And I mean, yesterday I was talking to somebody about diversity and inclusion, and on a broader scale. And what I keep hearing is that common message is that we all have something very special to bring to the table, and that any company that doesn't recognize that, whether it's men, women, ethnicity, culture, et cetera, today, you really are losing out on some incredible brain power, on some incredible life experiences that help you see opportunity and take advantage of opportunity and have a passion for it in a very different way.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And we're seeing more of it. It's just, it'd be great for it all to happen a little bit faster as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So who could help out with that? I mean, we're here, we can share it afterwards.
Yeah.
Are you getting help from the universities that are at Canada North now? Are you getting, you mentioned Invest Ottawa, which is awesome, and the Capital Angel Network. Is there a way to get it into the university, the business and the science and the engineering programs, or?
I think there's possibilities there. I mean, there are some great programs at the universities already that are earlier stage, right? So we are actually very particular about what we're trying to achieve here. We're looking for those companies that are almost investment ready, but need a lot of spit and polish to get across the line. And so we support them in ways that are very focused on what investors want to see.
Right.
So there's great programs. Maker Launch out of University of Ottawa is a fantastic program. There's startup garages, and they're all good in terms of the basics, but then they kind of leave the founder in a place where now what?
Right.
And so we wanted to fill this hole, this gap, and to help, in particular, women at this point get beyond that stage of now what, and put their plans in place, have their financial forecast, make sure their legal is organized, get their data rooms together, all those things that investors are going to want to see that aren't really taught. I can't actually think of a place where universities teach this kind of thing. And it's very particular to the investment realm. There are some resources, but we wanted to really concentrate here.
Right. And
Go ahead.
so you teach this through a boot camp process?
Yeah, essentially, it's a 6-week program. Where we go really deep and have workshops twice a week and half-day workshops. And again, they're still trying to run a company, so we have to keep it to a certain reasonable period of time. And we have people that, and we particularly match each expert with an investor for each of these sessions, so that an investor is always bringing in their perspective. So we may have a financial specialist talking about how to do your forecast, and then the investor will say, well, most of the time, I'm not really interested in a 5-year forecast. I'm looking for the 3-year because it's a little bit more realistic, etc. So you're just getting the opinion of an investor added in, which really helps them get a feel for, first of all investors are not the same, and second of all, there's different ways to look at it.
Yeah, well, yes, and I would add to that, understanding the positive feedback from the investor, even if they're saying, you're not quite ready, or maybe a flat out no.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
That's where great pivots come from.
But one of the things that we, all the founders kind of complain about, but then at the end of the program go, oh my gosh, that was so worthwhile, was every week they pitch. So from week 1, they pitch to a group of investors and they get feedback. Week 2, they do it again with a different group. Week 3, week 4, week 5. And it's amazing how that kind of repetition provides a real great progress in a short period of time. And and they go through the confusion. Well, one said this and the other said this. Well, yeah, that's reality. That's going to happen. What do you think now, based on this, you want to pitch? So it's a good program from that standpoint. And all of the workshops are led by women as well too. And we're trying to create an environment where they're comfortable with asking uncomfortable questions as well, and get into discussions that between themselves as well, because the network of the founders is something that we try and incubate as well, and make sure that that's a lifelong journey they're taking together as well.
Very cool. So what's the ultimate vision for SheBoot? I mean, where do you want this to be in a year, 2-3 years from now?
Well, we've been very Ottawa focused, bringing some companies in from elsewhere to have that diversity from the different regions. We're looking to take this national. We want to see companies from across the country interacting. We're willing to stick with the virtual or hybrid kind of situation to make that work, so they can still, run their companies. But there's more women out there, and we want to be there to help them. We want them to get to the next stage. And as we build the links with the venture capitalists, we're getting pretty close to be able to hand them off to that next stage too. I mean, even this cohort, I can tell you that one of the founders that didn't win has raised $1 million. And she says, all that SheBoot pitch practice, that was so important. Another of the founders, I'm blanking, is close to closing $2 million in investment. And the third, who won second prize, is close to closing 500,000. And I'm ecstatic. I'm amazing. That's exactly what we need to see.
That is an incredible story. And we've been speaking with Julia Elvidge, who's a co-founder of SheBoot. I so appreciate your time today, Julia. And leave us with one thought. If there is, one thing now that you would need or you would ask for in supporting that move from local to national, what would that be?
Well, it's funding. We to get to the next stage, we need more support. We need, I'm take it from anywhere, but it makes a huge difference that we can now get beyond all the volunteer and start putting some even one full-time staff in place to help us build this going forward. I think that's my ask out there.
Well, thank you for that, and we will share that out with the show.
Great, I appreciate it.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Ken.